Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the language techniques that we've studied in our last lesson, and this time we're going to actually have a quiz to test your understanding on the key techniques for level 1, level 2 and GCSE English as well. If you haven't done so already, please could you like and subscribe, it really does help us out when you do so. So by the end of this video you'll be able to recall the key language techniques for functional skills, understand how these are used through examples, and you're going to review your understanding and next steps for learning.
Round 1. Look at the definitions and work out the language techniques being described. So as we go through each one, remember to go through the deforest techniques and the high level techniques from the last lesson if you come across any of the definitions that you're not too sure about. And I can also remind you it's really important that you stay to the end, because that's when we're going to go through the answers, review all of them, and you can think about your score and the next steps that you need to take in order to improve your knowledge of these key techniques. So for this round then, we're going to look at the key definitions that are now appearing on the screen. You need to read through it carefully. If you need to pause the video at any point, please feel free to do so, and then you can spend a bit more time trying to figure this out. So it says then, this technique is great when you're writing a speech and allows the writer to speak directly to the audience. You need to be careful how you use this, however, as it may seem too direct or offensive in some writing tasks. This technique is used when the writer uses words or phrases that evoke an emotional response from the reader. Again, if you want to pause the video here, please feel free to do so. We're now going to jump across to the next question. This is when a writer makes a comparison without using like or as. This is when the writer repeats the same letter in two or more words in close conjunction to each other. This is often done to add emphasis. For this one then, this is when the writer uses three ideas that work towards a common goal. The purpose of this is to emphasize the point you are trying to make. This is when you use like or as to make a comparison. This is a form of figurative language. And again, just to remind you, if you are struggling to recall any of the ones that we went through so far, do look back at the language technique video that we made in the previous week.
So now we're going to move on to round 2. I want you to look at the sentences and identify the language techniques that have been used in each one. Remember, as you're going through these, try to look carefully at each line, because there may be more than one technique. It's not just the deforest techniques, but it's also the higher value techniques that we looked at in our previous video last week.
Who doesn't love English? The subject is simply fun, engaging, and let's face it, simply magical. A recent survey found that 2/3 of people would rather have a takeaway than go out for a meal. The food was a rainbow of colour. Everyone around the table stared at it hungrily, like predators who had sighted their prey. I have suffered for months revising for my exam. If I don't pass, it will be the end of the world. Working at a college can be fun, exciting and rewarding. In my view, it is the best job I have ever had. The film was the best thing I ever watched. It was like something out of a dream. 100% of the people in the cinema stayed in their seats just to watch the end credits. That's feedback. Check your answers against the correct ones below. So for number 1 then, this technique is great when you're writing a speech and allows the writer to speak directly to the audience. You need to be careful how you use this, however, as in some forms of writing it may seem too direct or offensive, and the technique we're referring to is one of our DeForest techniques and it's direct address. Number 2. This technique is used when a writer uses words or phrases that evoke an emotional response from the reader, and this is emotive language. Number 3. This is when a writer makes a comparison without using like or as, and that's a metaphor, and the key word there to focus on is without. So without using like or as. If it does use like or as, it would be a different technique. Number 4. This is when the writer repeats the same letter in 2 or more words in close conjunction to each other. This is often done to add emphasis, and this is alliteration. Number 5. This is when the writer uses 3 ideas that work towards a common goal. The purpose of this is to emphasize the point you're trying to make. We have many different names for this technique. You might know it as a triplet, a group of 3, or even a rule of 3. So our final one for round 1. This is when you use like or as to make comparison, and it's a form of figurative language, very similar to a metaphor. This is a simile, and again the big difference between it, in a simile you'd use like or as to make the comparison. With a metaphor you wouldn't be doing that, you'd just say something is something else. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to move on and we're going to look at the correct answers for round 2. So for the first question then, who doesn't love English? The subject is simply fun, engaging, and let's face it, simply magical. So what we have here, we have more than one technique in that sentence, or in that example I should say, because there's actually 2 sentences there. We have a rhetorical question and we have a group of 3. Number 2. A recent survey found that 2/3 of people would rather have a takeaway than go out for a meal, and this is a statistic. Number 3. The food was a rainbow of colour. Everyone around the table stared at it hungrily like predators who had sighted their prey. And that of course would be a metaphor, because it wasn't really a rainbow of colour, and a simile because it's used a like or as to describe the people who are hungrily waiting for their food. Number 4. I have suffered for months revising for my exam. If I don't pass, it will be the end of the world. So we have emotive language through the use of the word suffered, and then we also have a hyperbole or exaggeration when we're saying if they don't pass, it will be the end of their world. Number 5. Working at a college can be fun, exciting and rewarding. In my view, it is the best job I've ever had. So you can see there, because you've got 3 ideas towards a common goal, it will count as a triplet, and because I've said it's my opinion, or in my view, it's clearly going to be me expressing my own personal view on the situation. And our final one then, number 6. The film was the best thing I've ever watched. It was like something out of a dream. 100% of the people in the cinema stayed in their seats just to watch the end credits. So we've got quite a few in the final one there. You've got an opinion. Okay, so it's the best thing I've ever watched. We're not actually stating it as a fact that it is the best thing ever made. We're saying in our own view, that's how we feel. We have a simile there as well. It was like something out of a dream. And then we also have a statistic, because we also have 100% of the people who watched it stayed to watch the credits as well. So if you'd like to go back over the video and keep practicing this, I really encourage you to do so. Do check out our other video as well that was uploaded on the previous Friday, and that's going to go through all of the techniques that you need to know, both DeForest techniques for level 1, level 2, and also some of the higher value ones that you will need for GCSE as well. Review. Add up your scores and attempt the challenges that follow. So first thing to think about, now that you've completed both rounds of the quiz, try and add up your score for both rounds and think about which one of them did you do the best on. For the super challenge then, it's a good idea to set yourself a target to improve on specific language techniques. So it might be that you're really good at things like your DeForest techniques, because we have gone through those in quite a few of our videos already, and then just think about the specific ones that you don't maybe use all the time, or you're a little bit unsure about, and those are the ones you need to focus as we lead up to your assessment. And the final one, use your understanding from today's lesson to attempt the reading question that we looked at in our last video. Okay, so it's really important that you go back, you review, and you try and make sure you're actually using these techniques and embedding them within your writing. And the more you do this, the more it's going to become second nature, and the more it's going to benefit you when you come to do an actual writing assessment. Now, in terms of our next lesson then, we're going to look at the following things. So first of all, we're going to think about how to write an email. Now this one should be one of the easiest ones for us to think about now that we're a few weeks out from your writing assessment. So we're going to look at how to actually structure it, the organisational features and things like that. We're also going to think about how important the idea of the tone of your writing is when it comes to an assessment. And then finally, you're going to apply your understanding to an exam style question, which of course will be based around writing an email. Now, if you need any additional support or help, the new videos will be uploaded every single week. Alternatively, leave us a comment below or visit our partner channel Bookworm Teaching for more lessons and guidance on all things English. If you are still really struggling, guys, please do try and join our membership. That way you can unlock a lot of different benefits, and we can also give you a bit more of a one-to-one support as you lead up to your actual assessments and hopefully passing functional skills level 1 and level 2. Thanks ever so much for listening, guys, and all the best with your work and revision in the future. Bye bye.